Zoom! Hi everyone, I'm Glenn from Code, and today I'll be talking about how to communicate with your family in a more warmer, loving and assertive manner. Don't forget, the principles are based on my vision and life experiences, and this time I will change things up as I will give the tips while talking about the principles. So let's go! So how did I used to communicate with my family? When I was younger and up until my late 20s, I demanded obedience from my family. And I justified this with the belief that my mom owed me for not caring the way that I needed to be cared for when I was younger. I also was convinced that I knew what was best for my brothers, which is obviously not the case. I would criticize my family in a very passive-aggressive way. So I would either yell and be angry, or I would ignore them for days up until weeks. So it's pretty safe to say they were walking on eggshells every time I was present. So clearly this wasn't a really good way of communicating with my family, right? So I used the upcoming principles to change things up. As the first principle is, small changes can lead to bigger things. The second one is, only focus on what you can control, not what you want to control. And the last one is, only initiate difficult conversations if you are in control of your emotions. With these principles, I have made huge changes within my family, and they're not walking on eggshells anymore, I think. So once again, the first principle, small changes can lead to big results. At some point, I decided to start giving my mom hugs every time I would visit her. In the beginning, this was very difficult because we barely showed any affection in my family. I started doing this because I wanted to see if me and my mom could grow closer to each other. In the beginning, this felt very forced, but after a while, they become more meaningful. And today, the hugs that initially were very awkward are a natural part of our relationship. So a tip for this principle is to try to have one-on-one quality time with your family members. This way they will learn to trust your new intentions. For example, I used to have Rumekuk afternoons with my mom on Sundays. I don't like the game, but she loves it. Or I would invite my brothers over to play some games or board games together. The second principle is focus on what you can control, not what you want to control. So I always used to believe that I knew what was best for my brothers. I wanted to steer them to have a good life. So I would tell them to do certain things in a certain way. And if they did not do it, I would become upset, angry, and I would throw a tantrum. For example, I would make plans with my brothers, and if they cancelled for any reason, I would just be angry, upset, and I would lash out at them over the phone and then ignore them for multiple days, expecting an apology. Now, hold on. Luckily, I realized that I can only control my reactions and how I deal with them. And I realized at some point that I need to change the way I deal with these situations if I would ever hope to have a functioning relationship with my brothers. So I started out with letting my brothers know that I knew how much my way of communicating was hurting them, and that I'm going to do my part to change that. And then I asked for some patience while I work towards improving my communication skills. Today I have a different focus in similar situations. I now focus on having respectful conversations where we all feel heard and understood at the end of it. So I'm listening more with the intent of understanding instead of reacting. Now you might have a different family dynamic. However, the principles still apply. You should always focus on your own actions and what you can control instead of trying to control what other family members do or say. A tip for this principle is if your family triggers or frustrates you easily, before you enter the house or whatever, ask yourself some questions like, am I having a good day or am I having a bad day? What are the chances of me getting frustrated today? I used to do this all the time in the elevator of the apartment where my mom lives. And even today, every time I step into that elevator, my mind is going like, how do I feel today? And I was like, yeah, it will be fine. But it's funny because it's still there, right? The second tip is very close to the first one. And it basically is that when you notice you're getting frustrated and you can't turn it around, decide to leave. And in a very loving way, but then decide to go home because you don't want that place to be wired in your head as the place where you get frustrated all the time. The third principle is to only initiate difficult conversations if you are in control of your emotions. I always let my emotions take a driver's seat in relation to my family. This meant that it was impossible to have any constructive conversation about anything, because I was driven by my frustrations. And I'm not sure if you've experienced this before, but for me, that could easily ruin a couple of days. Today, if someone says or does something and it upsets me, I will wait until my emotions have calmed down, and if I then still feel the need to talk about it, I will initiate that conversation. But this time, I'm coming from a more selfless place, because the goal is not to hurt the other person for his or her reaction, but to let them know that it has upset me. And with that, I give them a chance to respond to it. And a tip here is again to announce your intent. I would always, before I start the conversation, let my brothers or mom know that I'm working on improving my communication skills. So I always notice that they would feel more relaxed whenever I announce that. This helped us along the way to create new and more healthier habits. So now we've come to the part where I give you some exercises. First exercise is to do something small for one of your relatives that could improve your bond. This might even become tradition. For example, playing Rummy with your mom, huh? No, I'm just joking. I only do this when you have no other options left. And the second exercise is initiate a conversation if you had a fight or something, when you know you will not lose control of your emotions. And if you are in a fight or if you had a fight, reach out, show some love, because life is already short enough as it is. So we've come to the end of the video. So once again, I'm Glenn from the Code Code. Thank you for watching, and let's work together to get you closer to the life that you want to lead. Take care.